people, more or less from the street, from the boarding office, 20 girls. So, I mean, I had my favorite, but let's say, I'm not the one to choose a name for a cosmetic company that then sends out products to women. So we pretty much had the girls step in, they took a vote, and within 5 minutes, we pretty much had the name, which is now today Glossybox. So this was pretty much the first, the first thing was to really secure the supply, and then pretty much it was about to see if the model actually worked. So for us, it was all about getting a basic website running. We chose at the time PHP Magento, since it was the quickest time to market. Of course, the ones that know, Java is a little bit more flexible, but PHP is very important. So it's very quick. It's much quicker. So we pretty much put a basic website together. We didn't spend a lot of time but we spent some time, obviously. But it took us all in all 5 weeks to launch this website from the kickoff, from the decision that we took this website until we kicked it off. So March 7th, we went live and sent then, at the end of March, our first set of 300 boxes. So when the first box went to the first beauty blogger online, we had 300 views. In half an hour, we sold 50 boxes. So that was for us selling a subscription in such a quick time. It was pretty much amazing, and we really felt that we had something here. So for us, the feasibility seemed that it was there. After this, the demand went through the roof on both brand side as well as pretty much the subscriber side. And what we then said, okay, it seemed to be so compelling, the idea, let's take it more international, since brands are global and cosmetic users are global. So we pretty much expanded into 4 countries afterwards. So we did France, UK, Brazil, and Korea. So how did you do it? Of course, I mean, we were 2 people at the beginning. It was my co-founder and myself. We had 2 interns, and we had 2-3 tech guys, and then 1 designer that helped us. But again, once you expand so quickly, you must also take your ego out of the equation. So we pretty much filled up the team with also founders on a global level. So we were 2, and all of a sudden we were 4. So we split the work between the 4 of us, and actually did interviews all the time. You know, it was pure focus on HR, because you are only as good as your team is after all. So it took us then another 3 months to move into these 4 markets. So we went pretty much live into all of these markets by the end of May 2011, and there also the demand was pretty nice. So we decided, okay, let's actually move on and move into the key e-commerce markets further around the globe. So this is the decision that we took then in order to get into 17 countries. So when we speak about execution, and when we speak about the decisions that we took, what is execution for me? So first of all, it's actually taking on responsibility and making your own decisions. I think this is one thing that's extremely important. Once you accept a challenge, you have to know that pretty much you're the one in the driver's seat. No matter who is behind you, if it's a VC, if it's your family money, or if it's your own money, it doesn't really matter. You're the one that is in charge. If you fail, you're the one to fail. So it's really a mindset decision that you have to take once you actually become a founder. So, and it's not only the mindset yourself that you have and your attitude towards work, but it's also pretty much the mindset of the people that you hire. Because if you're the only one that is driving this, well, you will be coming to a point when you don't have any time anymore. I mean, you're working very hard anyways. So it's really about taking this responsibility. Then it's about drive implementation or drive execution. So once you take a decision, or once you face, let's say, a new challenge, you should really, think quickly about a strategy. Without a strategy, I think it's going to be tough. Yeah. But a lot of people, and also from my personal circle of friends, a lot of them, they think a lot, and very long time about the strategies. So what we did is, and this is something, the key lesson I took from online marketing, a lot comes actually from try and error, or you're the first to fail. So once you have an idea, think quickly about a strategy, and then actually pretty much move into execution of it. So, I mean, that's pretty much what we did. Once we had the idea, and I just called the secretary of the CEO of Estée Lauder Germany 25 times. Then she pretty much invited me to really present this. And then I went into the meeting and I basically had no clue what I was talking about. But I learned so much out of this meeting that I then took and replicated for additional meetings. That was great to simply be there. So, I mean, once you maybe also go back in your own personal journey, you will see that in university you learn how to develop a strategy. When you go and move on to, you know, your next step, either it's banking, it's consulting, it's marketing, it's whatever you want to do and you're doing, there's also a way that you learn about, you know, doing a strategy. But after all, once you are and run your own business, pretty much make that decision and execute it right away. Today, we pretty much, if something new pops up, if we want to do, let's say, a new country, we pretty much sit down, have a set of key bullets, have a checklist that we go through. Do we have enough samples in the market? Is the acceptance of the people good enough? Is the infrastructure there? Do we have a recurring payment provider in place? So you have a checklist, you go through, and once the checklist is done, you give it a try. I mean, this is pretty much how we do this in the execution. So, and then also, what's very important, keep going. And what do I mean by it? With every decision that one takes, you know, a kind of a hamster wheel starts. And the hamster wheel you have in pretty much every different fields of work, including banking, including finance, all of it, and including also the startup after all. And once you get into this execution mode, you are pretty much stuck in the hamster wheel. I mean, you can purely talk about execution, but if you do not step out of this wheel, I believe it's going to be very tough, because also if we hadn't changed a lot of things that we were doing, we probably wouldn't be where we were today. So at the beginning, we started off with a price point of 10 euros in Germany. It was something that we simply tried, but after all, we learned that of course margins are not that great, but that wasn't the problem. The problem was actually we were thinking about the consumer that we had, and the consumer that actually the cosmetic companies wanted to have on board. And when you sell something for 10 euro on the internet, it's a price point that we learned a lot of people can still afford, and so you might get the wrong audience after all that is sampling for free samples. If you are a marketing provider and you expect companies to give you this product more or less for free, well, you should be having at least the right audience, right? And this is actually that's the core asset of our business today, is having the right audience, is having all of these consumers, is having this community and having this right community. So it's a step that we then had to take, and it was a pretty painful step. I mean, raising prices by 50% today, we have 15 euros, was something we needed to do, and it was more or less extremely important. Also, when we speak about stepping out of the hamster wheel, a lot of teams, they work very much towards, let's say, the first financing round. And I've experienced a lot of groups of friends, a lot of people that I know. Well, they got to this point, but the problem is once they got there, they were so happy that they got all the money, and so they could actually get started, and they celebrated for weeks and weeks just about the success. So I think it's important, once you have a success, look back, be proud of it, but then again, switch into execution mode more or less the next day. So, what is next? So speaking about this hamster wheel, once you have an organization behind you that actually has over 400 employees in 17 countries, it's kind of hard to really make sure that execution is still up to speed. At the beginning, you sit at a small table and you can pretty much delegate, and you have everything pretty much around you. So once you are at this size, you really have to consider a good executive strategy, because if you don't have the feeling that you can actually escape the wheel once and then move into execution mode on the top level, it's going to be tough. So today, managing this group of people, of course we are more corporate. Of course we have management structures into place. And of course now it's for us also the time we did a huge ramp up to really take this huge step back and look at various things. So for example, at this very moment, we are very much investing a lot of time in, building the brand, giving it more thought to it, really making sure that people feel outside of Glossybox about this mission and vision that we had internally. In the beginning it was a pure execution, just get out there, and today we're pretty much looking to more qualitative aspects. So I think if I can pretty much give one thing tonight to you is my key learning for the last 3 years was that a lot of things that lead to execution were pretty much in my mind already. I simply did not know how to use them. I didn't know that, you know, how to activate them for me in my own, let's say, personal, in my own personal universe. And I think what's very important that I'm 100% certain that you all have all those ideas and all of the skills also in you, but try to find them and activate them. So I would say it's all about talent, and identify your own talent, and pretty much use this for your own personal execution agenda, but also for the agenda and people that you work with. Yeah, so this is pretty much what I wanted to share with you tonight. I'm now ready to accept questions.
Okay, can everybody hear?
I've just got a bit of a strategic question. I mean, how have you dealt with challenges along the way, such as...
very hard to hear for me.
How have you dealt with some of the strategic challenges as companies become larger? For example, petite boxes, change direction, coming back into Glossybox.
So, I mean, as said, once you start, you have a small table. You surround everyone around you. Once you grow a little bigger, you have a bigger organization. And then again, what you then of course start, you will have to implement certain set of structures. And also, these are a lot of feedback loops. When we talk about petite box in particular, I think it's still a great concept. I think it's a great audience. For the ones that don't know, we started Glossybox, that's the beauty part, and then we took it to baby, so we called it petite box for becoming mothers and for mothers and their children. And then we decided to stop it again. What's the reasoning behind it? Well, the target group of people is very small. It takes a lot of time to pretty much get people on board, and it's also very limited in terms of people who will actually subscribe. So for us at the time, it was a kind of, there is a limit in the business concept as such, and also it will take a lot of time to really get towards those people, while we were executing even further on Glossybox globally. We had a lot of things that we had to pretty much cope with, but didn't have, let's say, enough resources also. So it's also a question about resources. Yeah, this is the reason why we said we're not going to do it again, not right now. But it's not completely stopped. We just took out the effort. We're still doing it, but we're selling it via Glossybox.
Hello, my name is Mark. It says the software solutions. How could you convince your first customers that you are an expert in these products and cosmetics as a guy, basically?
Yeah, well, it's all about moving out of your comfort zone. Being a banker, moving into the, let's say, cosmetic space is quite interesting. Well, I think what you have to do is, and that was one of the, let's say, key strategic steps, you need to come up with, let's say, a great product. Yeah? And once you look at the boxes, I'm not sure, maybe you have seen one, we invested a lot of time and a lot of money into the box itself and into the brands we put in the boxes. So pretty much we did focus on great products and a great box, and this was then a great experience, so people followed. And the good thing about the concept as such is also that you have a very strong beauty community. So go onto YouTube and type in smoky eyes. You will see like 1 million videos of girls around the globe doing smoky eyes. Once you find an access into this community and they start talking about you, it's kind of a good advantage to convince them that you are also, if you deliver great, an expert. And of course we hired people. I mean, I did pretty much the first setup of the first box because I did a lot of reading. I spoke to a lot of friends, And they tell me, okay, great, Kiehl's is an amazing brand, OPI is an amazing brand, Laura Mercier is an amazing brand, so we put them in.
Can you throw it back? Yeah, thanks.
Hi, I'm Mike. I have a question about you going global, going to foreign countries. How did you decide to go to these countries? For example, Brazil you mentioned. I mean, why did you choose Brazil?
Okay.
And how did you execute this? How did you get connections? Or did you already have some connections?
So at the beginning it was a very, so at the beginning we were extremely small. We didn't have a lot of funding, to be honest, basically none. So it was very much a proof of concept. Once, after we've sent the first set of boxes, and then we all of a sudden had 2,500 subscribers, we raised our first round of money. So we could actually expand, yeah, step one. Step two, we identified, let's say, the key markets first for e-commerce, since we wanted to test which markets around the globe work. So of course, France makes sense, it's right next door. UK makes sense, it's right next door. But also we wanted to see how Asia would maybe react, and also how Southern America would react. So when we speak specifically about Brazil, I don't need to tell you that it's a very interesting country for a lot of investors to move into, and for a lot of startups. But it's also a huge beauty market. Yeah? And the interesting part specifically about Brazil is that people have very limited access to cosmetic products. They have a lot of, let's say, retail department stores, large ones, but the distances that they have to overcome in order to go there are huge. So for us, I mean, we have a product that we can send to people's doors. We have a huge market with regard to e-commerce, and we have a huge beauty market. So it made a lot of sense. How did we find people? I mean, it's not simple. I agree. Of course, we have a network. But we used all the alumni networks that we could tap. Yeah, so we pretty much posted on HBS, alumni network. We used INSEAD. We used all of the big, large MBA schools. We pretty much used alumni networks of former consultancies, etc. So we pretty much spread the word out, and it's a lot of word of mouth driven. We also have a lot of personal connections. And this is how we pretty much found somebody that was capable of doing this concept. And when I speak about what skill set do you need, maybe this is also interesting for you for this concept. Of course, you can say, okay, well, Rocket hires a lot of consultants. It's true, but this concept is slightly different. You need a lot of quality. You don't have 1 million merchants. You have only, let's say, 300 cosmetic companies. Once you go there, you screw up the relationship, you're done. Once you send a bad box, you're done. Yeah? So you need a person that can, on the one hand, let's say, lead a team, manage the whole process, but also have the receptiveness for this quality product.
Thank you.
Sorry, we're out of time. Is that okay for you?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Charles.